We are spending 2025 on this week's episode of Implicit Bias. I am your host, Kevon Bordelon, and when I mean spending, I mean like government spending from the TSPL. I really wish we had enough money to spend like government spends. Let me introduce you to the crew who's here this week. In the chair, much like mine, he is the rustic renegade, Caleb Morse. Caleb, what do you have in the glass over there?
I went back to the single barrel.
So you're the Forbidden Series single barrel out of
Yes.
Bardstown.
Yeah,
Okay.
It is very much worth my time.
And the proof on this is
Oh, you're gonna ask me a
114?
115 on the nose. Yep. 57.5.
Well, there you go. 115 on the nose. We're going to talk about this one in just a second. It is available at Mr. Lester Steakhouse. At the bar, Jonathan Broussard is examining the small batch Forbidden Series, as well as Danny Izzo, who I believe is on his 13th, 14th pour or whatever, Danny. Yeah, exactly. All right. So let's talk about...
He's just ready for the homily. That's all.
Because he is going to Mass on New Year's Eve as we are actually recording this week's episode on New Year's Eve. We were talking about our favorite stories of 2024 in hour one. This is one of my favorite things to go down and to listen to, and it is this. It is government spending in 2024.
Oh, this is so painful.
So here are some fun ones. $12 million on a Las Vegas pickleball complex, because we know Vegas needs tax money.
Every day of the week. Every day of the week.
They need federal tax money for a pickleball court.
And I'm sure they have to have another pickleball court.
Correct. $3 million for girls-centered climate action in Brazil.
Wait, girl or female?
Well, it says girl-centered. That, I think, is how it was labeled in the law.
Girl-centered climate action.
Correct. In
So-
Brazil.
In Brazil. So it's really hard to know. The girl from Ipanema is just going to be...
Well, I'm wondering
the
if we spent
clouds.
$3 million on Brazilians.
No,
Anyway, $10 million on Orwellian cat experiments.
like George Orwell?
That's the way it's
wait,
spelled.
no, that's the one where they tested the cats to see if they were motion sickness. They drilled a hole in the cat's skulls, put sensors in there, and spun them around to see if cats got motion sickness.
Did we spend $10 million to try and figure out why a cat always lands on its feet?
No, not land on their feet. If they got sick and threw up, there's a difference.
After they landed.
Yeah,
on their
after they
feet.
landed on their
Yeah,
feet.
I'd have done that for $10.95.
Penny saved. Penny saved.
And all those cat ladies are just going crazy.
How is that not animal cruelty?
That's what I'm wondering.
Really?
I mean, look.
Did PETA support
I'm
that
sorry,
decision?
you put the word Orwellian in anything, the first thing you got to think of is, really?
All right, $4.8 million solely for Ukrainian influencers.
Oh, Ukrainian social media influencers.
Correct.
Ah.
20 million.
This one's my favorite.
20 million on a Sesame Street show in Iraq.
Oh, what?
With the name Alan Simpson.
Yeah. 20 million on a Sesame Street show in Iraq. Because, you know, that's what our tax dollars, our U.S. tax dollars, needs to go towards.
Is there still an Elmo? Like,
No,
it's not Sesame Street. So
I don't know. I don't know.
Who
All right.
plays the Grouch?
It must be because the Iraqis have found Waldo.
They might have. I don't know. How about this one? 20 million on the Fertilize Right initiative to advance fertilizer use in Pakistan, Vietnam, Colombia, and Brazil. How about this one? Because you know what that sounds like to
Wait,
me?
they use fertilizer there.
Well, but you know what that sounds like to me? That sounds to me like a fertilizer company marketing fund. That's what that sounds like to me.
Valid.
Well, it's got to be because, you know, they're banning the use of fertilizers in practically all of Europe, and we're starting to ban the use of fertilizers in this country. So the fertilizer company's got to go somewhere.
I've seen people in Asian countries like copping a squat and doing a number 2 in the middle of a rice field. They fertilize in their own way.
It's funny because it's true, but I'm wondering why we are paying for the marketing fund for these massive companies in
Hey, quid pro
foreign
quo.
countries. In
Hey, quid
foreign
pro quo.
countries. All right. Here's maybe the one that gets me the most. 10 billion.
Bubba.
Billion with a B on the maintenance, leasing, and furnishing of mostly empty buildings.
Empty government building.
Yeah, empty government. Yeah, this is government. Yeah.
Maintenance.
Because
Leasing.
nobody's going to work anymore. So we have all these empty buildings.
That the government is leasing and paying for and essentially not being used, which means they're also paying for
Electricity.
Uh-huh.
Water.
electricity,
Sewer.
water, sewer.
Alarm company. Phones. That unmanned.
Keep going.
Because their contracts say they have to maintain the building, not
Correct.
the owner of the building.
Correct.
That's
So-
a great gig. Like I tell you what.
Oh, if I had an empty building and I could lease it to the government to do nothing with it, make them take care of it, and I sit on it. Here's what I wonder. I wonder how many politicians own real estate and they're commercial realtors for big buildings. That's what I wonder.
That's a good question.
Because now you got to start to wonder who got all those contracts? Who is getting all those funds? So if I go buy.
You mean
and-
like someone who owns a bunch of hotels and got a bunch of millions and millions of dollars for the Ukraine, all of a sudden made out with great money? Oh,
who would that be, Caleb?
I mean, I'm not going to talk about Nancy Pelosi on the air. But
Well, I mean, I don't know why we would talk about Nancy Pelosi. I mean, we're talking about somebody who's been in Congress making $174,000 a year and now is worth hundreds of millions of
Yeah.
dollars. I'm trying to figure out how that math carry the one plus
Who
the,
also has
the greatest stock record.
oh, phenomenal.
oh,
Yeah.
absolute family ties into the mafia.
Well, and that goes way
Way back.
Way back.
I'm just still trying to figure out how a $10,000 entry even got on this list.
The $10,000 entry, I'm not even bothering with because 10,000, I'm like,
It's a drop in the bucket, but you know what?
Yeah.
Someone threw their name in the hat.
I'm actually going to search the
They
10,000.
may have pissed off.
Oh yeah,
some
we're not
other
going down
person.
that one, Danny. We're not going down.
I'm
Oh.
sorry. I learned to ice skate on a little backwater slough off the Illinois
Wait, now
River
I'm
in the
curious.
wintertime.
Yeah, well, you know what? We're not going to talk about being paid $10,000 to play dress up and learn to ice skate at the same time. That's just a whole nother.
Wait, are they dressing up like Sesame Street characters?
Yeah.
Some of them
something
might
like
be. You never know.
Tickle me, Elmo.
We just wore nice, we just wore nice warm clothes and played hockey.
Again, please don't believe us. You can go find this on Fox News. Rand Paul actually ran this down.
Mhm.
We have a saying on this show. Is it possible? Is it probable? And then once we start to see coincidence after coincidence after coincidence after coincidence, it's no longer coincidence. It becomes evidence. These spending bills, which was another great story that we saw come in through 2024, because we didn't even get really a chance to address the continuing resolution that went from like 1,600 pages
Oh,
down to like 115 pages.
well, it didn't go that fast. It went like 16,000 to 1,600 to 167 or something ridiculous.
And the things that were taken out,
Oh my God.
like immunity for Congress on all these
Yes.
things that they might have
Yes.
done. I mean, it just goes to show how much stuff they're doing behind our backs because we are not paying attention.
I'll only vote yes if my grandchildren's grandchildren get $100,000 a year from the government. That's it. That's all it'll cost you.
So you mean somebody read it before it was passed?
Oh, well, that's
There
the
you go,
really
bringing
fun
old Nancy
part.
into this again.
That's the whole fun part.
I'm
Because
sure,
Jonathan-
I'm sure Nancy wasn't one of the ones that read it.
Hell,
Jonathan, you have to pass it so you can then read it
And find out what's
and find out what's
that's
in it.
that's how it works
Silly
with your business,
me.
isn't it? Like that's what you do with your business. You just write the check.
Well,
it's blank.
Absolutely.
right.
I buy all kind of stuff
Yeah,
before I
But
know
this-
I'm gonna make $1.
But
right?
this goes back to the discussion we were having about your favorite story of 2024, which is the ability to catch a rocket out of the air. And you said it's amazing how quickly private entity can do this. and government can't. This is why. Because privately, Jonathan, you have to read everything when you own a business. You've got to sit down and look at it and go, okay, what's the financial repercussions if this happens, if that doesn't happen, if this doesn't happen, if that does happen? The government just signs it and goes, yeah, we'll figure it out later. We're spending somebody else's money. That's a problem.
Well, they don't care because it's someone else's money. They're like, you know what? We spent $4 million this year. Next year we'll ask for $2 million more because we spent all the $4 million. Not that we wasted $3 million of it.
Caleb,
We just want $2 million more.
I'm going to disagree. I don't think that's the case. I don't think they keep spending it because it's somebody else's money. I think they keep spending it because a lot of that money is coming back to them. I think this is one big, they say everything's cyclical, including how the government spends cash. It starts getting spent in Congress and it gets spent to people in Congress.
It's twofold. It's somebody else's money coming back to them.
Correct. And this is the problem. What's the old saying? The problem with democracy is that once the masses realize they can vote themselves huge swaths of the public coffers, it's over. I think what we have seen is that it's not the masses voting themselves huge swaths of the public coffer. I think it's the minorities that have gotten elected that are voting themselves huge paydays out of public coffers that they hide it and they masquerade it and they cover it up. They put lipstick on that pig and they call it pretty, but it's still a pig and it's still sitting in their backyard, not yours. And I think that is ultimately the biggest problem. And it's why we need to keep making sure that everybody hears about yours and mine and everybody else's implicit bias.